Here we have now results Exile trial index. So when the La Liga broke because Rizal was arrested and now he was brought in exile. So this is the last homecoming in his life. According to our historians, he was unafraid and he desired to meet his enemies and offer himself as a sacrificial victim to their sadistic lust and unholy designs, for he knew that his blood would water the seeds of Filipino freedom. So we analyze firstly the factors that led to his execution, the effects of his execution on the colonial rule and to the revolution. So Rizal lived in exile in Dapitan, so a remote town in Mindanao. But even though he was still in exile, he still practiced medicine. He pursued scientific studies, continued artistic, literary works, or even he was able to establish school for boy and more activities later. We can see his community projects. We have carried a letter from Father Pastas to Father Antonio Ovach to inform that Rizal would live at the parish convent. But on some conditions, Rizal should publicly retract his errors concerning religion, make statements that were clearly pro-Spanish and against revolution. Like he should be in attendance or he should also perform the church rites and make a general confession of his life that overall that he is a man of religion. But of course, Rizal did not agree to those conditions. Father Pastels argues that no matter how wise a man is, his intelligence is limited. So he still needs the guidance of God. So since Father Pastor is arguing like this, his rebut, individual judgment is a gift from God, and everybody should use it like a lantern to show the way, and that self-esteem saves a man from unworthy acts. Thus, religions may vary, but they all lead to life. So, for example, since the priests are trying to instill him this kind of beliefs, so he interpreted it that the Catholic dogmas are misconceptions of rationalism. Or we have this naturalism, just like the theory of St. Thomas Aquinas and other related philosophers, given that their background is religion. So these are what happened to him, what he was busy with as physician in the Pitan. So Rizal practiced medicine and had many patients, but most of them are poor, so that he even gave free medicine. He operated his mother's right eye. It was successful, but mother is so stubborn that she removed the bandage, resulting for it to be infected. But Rizal was able to save it. Water system, since Rizal was an expert surveyor, he supplemented his training by reading more books, applied his knowledge of engineering by constructing a system of waterworks. Community projects, he spent months draining the marshes in order to get rid of malaria because mosquitoes are from the swampy places. And when he received money from an English patient or maybe a wealthy patient, he used it to install lighting system in the dark places in the pita. So he bought the coconut oil lamps because uh, electric electric lamps were later introduced in the Philippines. I think it is in 1890s, 1894. So another community project with the help of the Jesuit teacher and his friend, they remodeled the town plaza to enhance its beauty. Rizal as a teacher, since he observed from the educational system of the modern nations, he himself planned to establish a modern college so that he could train Filipino boys. So he started from 3 pupils to 16, from the classes 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. And instead of charging them tuition fees, he made them work in his garden, fields, construction projects in the community. He taught them everything that he knew from language, history, math, morals, gymnastics, plants, animals, etc. Or to behave like a man. Then contributions to science, he explored jungles, sent the specimens to the museum, and in exchange of these specimens and the pictures, he received scientific books and surgical instruments. So he was able to continue and take advantage of the things he received. I think the scientific names of these animals is honored. He has this collection also of shells. So this was honored by founding a flying dragon, a small beetle, a rare frog. Then his inventive ability, while practicing medicine, he invented the cigarette lighter or sukukan and gifted it to Blumentritt, his BFF. Maybe that's why there are rumors that Rizal is gay because he is too close with Blumentritt. And also wooden machine for making bricks. Since he has this community projects planned for the Pitan, in order for its community to build it easily, or maybe some of another remodeling, he dedicated this wooden machine for making bricks. Then we now going to his love life. So Rizal and Josephine Bracken. So since Leonora died, he needed somebody to cheer him up. In God's own time, this somebody came to the Pita. So once upon a time, Josephine Bracken, an Irish girl of sweet 18, slender, chestnut brown hair, with blue eyes, dressed with elegant simplicity, along with her adoptive father, blind father, they have heard of an ophthalmic surgeon in the Philippines, and that is Rizal. So they fell in love, and after a whirlwind romance of a month, they agreed to marry, but was refused by Father Obach. Since again he refused, so they had no permission from the bishop. Even Mr. Topher is enraged knowing the news of marriage. Unable to endure the thought of losing his daughter, he tried committing suicide. So it is like a dramatic love story between these two. I think he was trying to cut his throat, but of course, luckily he was stopped by Rizal. And to avoid tragedy, so Josephine has to go far, far away with Mr. Topher to Manila. Uh, Mr. Topher eventually returned to Hong Kong while Josephine, of course, she stayed at Rizal's family. Then later, she returned to the Pita. Since no priest would marry them, they just held hands and married themselves before the eyes of God. Unfortunately, pranking, frightening Josephine resulted to premature baby who only lived for 3 hours. So maybe you have heard of Rizal having a baby, but it died. Rizal and Katipunan. So in the disguise that Pio Valenzuela will ask for medical advice, he is a blind man with him going to Rizal. So Pio Valenzuela informed about the uprising, but Rizal objected with 2 reasons. People are not yet ready, and arms and funds must be collected before the cry of revolution. Uh, Valenzuela also planned to rescue Rizal, but Rizal had given his word of honor to the Spanish authorities and he didn't want to break it. But because they believe that peaceful reforms are futile and that a more radical approach was necessary. And again, going back to the Liga, they wanted reforms, the Liga, equality under Spanish law, making the Philippines a province of Spain through legal means, peaceful, educational means. Because again, if we are trying to compare and contrast his Rizal and Bonifacio, he believes Rizal, evolution, not revolution. The change must come from within the character of the people through education. Now that he is no longer in exile, he has this is just the stopovers from these places where he visited some of his friends, visited the beautiful places and historical landmarks. Then here he was given a good accommodation in his trip abroad. He stayed in the cruiser for a month, but at that time the Spanish power in Asia went downfall. So he also learned about the eruption of the Katipunan and saw this. He was worried because it was violent and believed that it was premature for them because it has lost human lives. But even though he is discharged from all the blame, the authorities were plotting something else. So he was advised to stay behind Singapore, take advantage of the protection of the British law. Yeah, being under the British jurisdiction provided him a degree of safety from the Spanish authorities who might have sought to arrest him or harm him. But Rizal didn't heed the advice because he has given his word of honor to the Spanish authorities. So refusing to break his word has he has sealed himself or led him to his doom. Arrived in Barcelona as a prisoner. So the Spanish authorities were conspiring with the Minister of War and Colonies for his destruction. They are like exchanging telegrams and saying that he was a deportee and was being secretly kept under surveillance because they might discover more evidences that would really make Rizal a criminal. So he was interviewed before the ship left Barcelona because he arrived to Barcelona because he wanted or he applied to be the doctor of the Spanish soldiers in Cuba because I think there is a resistance movement happening there, but the authorities overtake. The Spanish army thought that he will start rebellion in Cuba, bringing liberal ideas. And again, that's why he was in Barcelona. Again, he was interviewed, then shipped back to Manila. So this is the sources of visual sources of the intramuros, the barracks. So the room of Rizal. During his imprisonment among the prisoners, he has the most comfortable one, but he cannot talk to anyone unless it is his lawyer. That's why he was able to have an alcohol that he can cook. But if you are not a VIP or a very important person, then good luck to your life. Because you can see they're trying to hang someone upside down, you will be beaten by the Spanish forces, or they will break um, with in between your fingers. They will break uh, in between your fingers. So you will incriminate. You will make statements against the person you are with. Rizal's last homecoming. So he knew he was facing a supreme test. the sacrifice of his life, but he was unafraid. Yeah. Newspapers were full of stories about the bloody revolution in the Philippines and were blaming him for it. So, realizing the unjust public opinion, he thanked God for giving him the chance to return in order to confront his slanderers. We had the Filipino patriots that were taken. I think Deodato Arellano, Pio Valenzuela, then his brother Pasiano were tortured to implicate Rizal, and also his brother. He suffered all the pain, but he never gave any statement incriminating his younger brother. Although his younger, although his body was shattered, I think his left hand was crushed by the screw. His spirit remained unbroken because a lot of people thought his act of defying the Spanish Empire. Many people who read the book or his writings, like Andres, was inspired to start small resistant movement. His last days, his defining moments tell what kind of a person is Rizal. It is fake that the death of Rizal ignited the revolution. Rizal died because of the revolution. He became the victim. The preliminary investigation by letters, oral testimonies as the evidence, and the only thing that they allowed him is to choose his defender. But the Spanish authorities, they will be the ones giving the list of names and has chosen Lieutenant Andrade since his name was familiar to him because he was another Andrade was Rizal's bodyguard in Calamba. So he was accused of being the principal organizer of the Filipino insurrection or the founder of revolution, revolutionary society, books that are dedicated to fermenting, propagating ideas of rebellion. Again, the nature of his case is about rebellion, so they handed it to the military court, not civilian. And the list of names, all of them are army officers, not attorneys. Again, his charges overall, something about relative to rebellion, sedition. You are someone is trying to create writings that propagate the feelings of rebellion. Because these judges, these authorities, they don't believe that Bonifacio is the leaders. Bonifacio and friends being the leaders of the revolutionary group. Because who are you, Bonifacio, to be able to lead? Because he is just a bodeguero or someone who works in simply a low rank worker from an international company. He just delivered newspaper or just a mere theater actor. So what is his influence? They have to link the issue on a known or popular personality. So who was the influential person? Who is the popular? No other than Rizal. So how could the authorities spin that? They have to link the Katipunan to the first organization that Rizal created. They have to equate it to the Katipunan. But the name, the title of the organization, somehow they were able to link it. So I will try to write through pen here. We have let me go. Na I'm only using my mouse. Liga Filipina. Yeah, I will just shorten it because then we have the katipunan. Kati, oh my god, katipunan. It's letter P, okay? Just bear with me. Katipunan, oh my god, ng the sons of the country. Mga anak, oh my god, mga anak. I will just do the acronym because I'm having a hard time writing it in the mouse pad of the laptop. Yeah. Okay, so they are trying to equate this La Liga Filipina to the Katipunan ng mga anak na bayan, organization of the sons of the country. So Liga is like an organization, it is a league. Katipunan, tipon, organize, a group, an organization. So somehow there are synonymous to each other. Tipon, liga. Tipon is just like we are coming together. Liga, league, both are again synonymous to each other. So who are the anak ng bayan? Who are the sons of the country? And that is Filipino, Filipina. So Rizal or the authorities was able to make it that Rizal is the one or he's the one who created both of this organization. The trial of Rizal. As for Rizal, he could not be guilty of the rebellion, for he advised Valenzuela not to rise in revolution. His name was used without his knowledge in recruiting the members. And if he's really a part of revolution, she should be able to escape to Singapore. But it was true that he wrote the bylaws of the Liga. But this is only a civic association, not a revolutionary one. His novels were being talked around. That's why, in a way, even though it is his artistic expression, Rizal was not guilty. But the authorities said, Rizal, you are still guilty, even though you are not part of it. The input of Pio was used, his testimony against Rizal during the trial. The first testimony of Pio, they will just talk, being as doctors, doctor to doctor, the Katipunan asked him to be a guest, an honorable guest of the Katipunan, and also planning to rescue him, and he still believed that Rizal is totally against the revolution. Eventually, some other time, Pio retracted his testimony that he told Pio na you have to arm yourself. You need to get the support from the Filipino nobilities or rich Filipinos, or else they will be your enemies. Like, you have to neutralize these wealthy Filipinos, or else again, they will be your enemies. So Valenzuela, of course, take heed of this advice. The way they neutralize these Filipino nobilities who didn't help, they write their names, and this list was placed on where the authorities can easily found them. So they were able to imprison those who didn't support the Katipunan. Like Rizal, according to the retracted version of Pio, you have to make Antonio Luna as your general. So, from this answer, it Rizal advised for this, then he is not totally against the idea of revolution. But still, he was saving. He's trying to save Rizal by saying that he did not agree with the revolution. But in fact, he only again advanced. So, of course, they don't know what or which version of Tio Valenzuela they are going to believe. They are like trying to cross-examine. So Rizal said something when the trial was open, the investigations. Aside from the question asked about him, during the preliminary investigation, aside from bringing a patient, what other object did Pio have going there? Rizal answered, there was to be an uprising, and they were worried about what would happen to him in the pita. It was hardly the time to embark on such foolhardy ventures. Means there is a right time. That there was no unity, arms, ships, or education, or anything that is needed for a resistant movement. Because even to Cuba, they have abundant resources but powerless to achieve their goals or objectives. Like it was a result's opinion that they ought to wait. So reading between the lines, of course, Rizal will be having red flags. So he will be really taking the blame. Like again, you wait, you arm yourself. So it confirms Valenzuela's second account that he advised them. Again, the bylaws of the La Liga, the first one, unite the whole archipelago. So from the perspective and interpretation of the Spaniards, you do not want reforms because you wanted to be a nation. Then you are guilty because Rizal's vision in La Liga is to for the Filipinos to create such brotherhood, sisterhood. We should like we are helping each other. That is his vision, what he wants us to be. We should reflect on that. Are we trying to create a nation that he wanted? We are being significant. We are helping each other. We educate each other in your class and even in your among your classmates. Are you helping each other? Do you help in reviewing each other, educating, or maybe in business as a Filipino citizen or in the society? Are the people trying to create a nation that Rizal wanted? Again, to educate, help each other in terms of business, agriculture. So it is not just about his last hours, but in our way of reflecting on what we are doing. Because there is also writings of Rizal, he was condemning the revolution that the Katipuneros wanted to do. That's why there are some there are some rumors or they some people have bad comments about Rizal because he didn't accept the revolution that Bonifacio wanted. He didn't agree with the present rebellion because it was not yet ready. But for Bonifacio, we need that. We need to free ourselves because it is our right. But for Rizal, he's like they are just arguing with each other. We will be utilizing this kind of liberation if we are educated enough. We have to have our own identity. Yes, Bonifacio is correct, but we can see that if we are not educated, the slaves of today will be the tyrants of tomorrow. So it is like you are just changing the person seated and the government of office, but there's no change when it comes to the quality of life of the Filipinos. Plus, the siblings of Rizal are the members of Katipunan. Pasiano, Josefa Trinidad. So he will really be blamed. He can be uh, guilty of this. Rizal's retraction during his death, it is true that Rizal signed because again we have this primary source, signed a retraction because according to the testimony of the Guardia Civil or the guard near there, I think uh, Josephine and Jose Rizal was able to legally wed on the last moments because again, since Rizal has signed the retraction letter, now he can marry Josephine Bracken legally. Maybe because some scholars, maybe they have this romantic side of them. I think we interpreted it that it is the last thing he could do for the last love. And that is to marry her legally. So, upon having signed his execution, we shot at 7 o'clock in the morning. Rizal gave his thanks to his family, to his niece, or especially to Josephine, his book or writings. To my unhappy wife, Josephine. Then she took his writings with Rizal's siblings to Bonifacio. And maybe since Josephine Bracken was able to give it to Bonifacio, some interpreted it that maybe Rizal is not totally against the idea of revolution because his last love finally joined the Katipunan. So there, Bonifacio translated Mi Ultimo Adios to Tagalog and gave it to the Katipuneros. So they really integrated this to the revolution that the Filipino wanted. Then one of the priests blessed him and offered him a crucifix to kiss. Then um, he requested that he be shot facing the firing squad but was denied. Um, and before firing, I think there is always a military position to check the pulse of a person. It shows no sign of being afraid to die. So it is like near that Rizal, he will be dying, but he is not afraid. Um, he is requesting to be shot facing the firing squad because the force of the bullet will push you down and let your face touch the ground, meaning you will die without honor. So with fire was heard and with supreme effort turned his body to the right, shouted consummatum est. It was exactly 7:30 a.m. with face upward facing the morning sun, aged 35 years. He died and buried in Paco Cemetery. So in Paco Cemetery, at first they didn't disclose or publicize where Rizal was being buried because the Spanish don't want people to have the spark of revolution, or to start any resistance movement. Or maybe they will held this place as symbolic, as something valuable to them. But of course, it is like what happened to the Compulsa. They didn't disclose where they buried, but it is just in Paco Cemetery. Because in Paco Cemetery, there lies the people who died from communicable disease. So it will somehow frighten the people from gathering here. And some historians or scholars interpreted this painting. We have this first line who already shot Jose Rizal, and we have the next line. They are just in position, just like we are readying. Their second line is the Spanish forces, and the first line is the Filipino soldiers. So um, they have this kind of conditions that the Filipinos, to be more humiliating for Rizal's death, they have to kill, or the bullets from these Filipino soldiers should kill Rizal, or else these Filipino soldiers, they will be the one who will be dying. So the second line was like a secure. It is like to force the Filipino soldiers to shoot Rizal, or else their life will be at stake. So maybe that is the according to some scholars and historians, it is like a humiliating experience for the death of Rizal.